Welcome and thank you for choosing True Grit, the show about what it really takes to rise, rebuild, and stay the course when life hits hard. I'm Cleesh Morrow, a coach, storyteller, and believer in the kind of strength you can't fake. Around here, we talk about real people, real stories, and the lessons that shape us, from resilience and mindset to health and healing, because grit isn't about grinding harder, it's about who you become when you don't quit. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to True Grit podcast. I am your host, Cleesh Morrow, and I am joined today with Heather Anderson, who is the owner of Fit for All Phases. She is a personal trainer, nutrition coach, and she offers a holistic approach to your health. And I'm so excited to have you on here. We riff a lot in just private channels, and we haven't really had much of a chance to just talk one-on-one. So I am deeply appreciative of your time and your sharing your expertise here. And I'm going to hand it on over to you and go ahead and tell us your story.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. This is the first podcast. And anyway, a little bit about me. I have an origin story.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
So ever since I was about 5, I wanted to be a teacher. So fast forward, I'm in college studying English because that's what I wanted to teach. And I'm taking a strength training class and I'm on the pec deck and I'm like, doing the pec deck. And I hear a little voice. I know this sounds crazy. I hear a little voice that says, you should be teaching this, right? Because I was so into it. The other voice was like, no, you're here to teach kids about how literature can change their life and, their philosophy, as they grow up. So I was like, all right. So I went ahead and finished with my my education. Fast forward, I was teaching public school English, 10th grade primarily, and it was an awful experience. I didn't get to teach. So I did that for 3 years and just said, okay, well, I'll stay home with my daughter, who was 1 at the time, and I'll figure it out. So anyway, since I was home with her, I worked nights, and during the day, I would go to the Y around the corner, put her in child watch, and work out and take classes, and also a little strength training in the weight room. And, it dawned on me, you're still a teacher, and this is your passion now. Maybe not literature anymore. So why don't you start teaching this so you can actually be an educator? So I started teaching spinning classes and water aerobics. This was in 2007. I got my personal training certification and hit the ground running. So I feel like when anybody ever hears that little voice that tells them that they should be doing something else, they should follow it, because you waste a lot of time in life if you don't. And I did.
Well, and good on you for finally circling back around and finding what, I dare say is your calling. If it's something that was that was sitting with you for so long. And again, like you said, you still get to teach. I guess I know for myself, when I first wanted to get into coaching, I wasn't really thinking so much about teaching, because yet they go hand in hand, teaching and coaching. And you just don't think about, at least I didn't think of myself as a teacher. However, you went into it already with that teacher mentality, which I think is really cool. And I'm assuming the skills that you learned with your education has likely transferred to what you're doing now, probably really, really well. Do you think so?
Definitely. Yeah. Like even teaching a subject like English, they say, try to get the point across in 3 different ways, educate in 3 different ways, because some people understand things differently. So, and I take that into my coaching too. Like if someone doesn't understand a certain move, the way I teach it, I'll try to approach it 3 different ways until it clicks.
Yeah.
So that really helps.
Well, that makes sense. And I know for myself, sometimes I've gone through different mentors or different courses, and it's like, I know it's there, but I can't quite get it. I don't know why it's not clicking. And then finally somebody will say it in a completely different way. still the same message. And all of a sudden you just get it. And just what an advantage you have with what you do because you have that versatility. I love that. Okay, so now let's talk about what you are doing currently. As your focus, have you found I'll back that up a little bit. Have you found that since you have started coaching, because now you're going on at 18 years,
Mhm.
18, almost 19 years, have you found that there's been an evolution in how you've coached and how you've approached it? Walk me through that because I believe that you've got quite the story uh, from where you started to where you are now.
Definitely an evolution. So, when you first starting, you want to provide the most impact pretty quickly. That way they'll stay with you. So, and lots of trainers do this when they hit the ground running. They just push everything. Oh, you have to eat this way. Oh, you have to do this amount of cardio. You have to do this. You have to do that. But you don't really tailor it to the individual and things that they're going through at the time, their unique needs, because they just don't teach you in the certification programs to do that, at least back in 2007.
Yeah, they still don't. And I just
It
went through mine not too long ago. I mean, a couple years ago, and it's still severely lacking in a lot of ways.
Right?
Mm.
Like even technique for different lifts and
Oh yeah.
machines, and I understand they want to make it to where it's accessible for everybody that you might coach, and they want to eliminate injury, so they teach you all the safest methods that should apply to everyone. But over the course of my career, I've learned that, uh, you have to work with a person's body and the way they move and just certain uniqueness that they have. Kind of push the cardio in the beginning. When it came to nutrition back then, I kind of took the approach where I would tell people you have to kind of brainwash yourself. This is not good advice to brainwash yourself to eat better. No, because that can lead to a really bad path, which I found out for myself back when I was doing triathlon too, back in 2013 through 15. I was basically an orthorexic, like super focused on clean eating, never diverging from the plan. And that's just not good. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, and I remember hearing orthorexic for the first time maybe a year or so ago, and I had to go look it up, and it's like you're describing. It is just you become so fixated on doing everything perfectly that you just you box yourself in, and you can't go outside of that box. Otherwise, it can be painful mentally.
Yeah. And that's just not the way humans are. That's not we operate. We don't operate in a box. So we're all unique and individual, needs. So yeah.
So what would you say was the turning point? How did you get yourself out of that? And do you still kind of struggle with that nowadays or do you not necessarily struggle? I don't like to use that word necessarily, but how do you work through that if they do come up or if it does still sit with you?
Um, it is something that you have to constantly battle. It's in the back of your mind. It's like number one, you feel like you have to be perfect as a coach, or you cannot teach others. Almost like you feel like a hypocrite. So, and that's whether or not you're orthorexic or you overindulge. You have to realize that there are things that people actually have to overcome, and you just have to be really supportive and give as much education and inspiration as you can. But yeah, it's constantly in the back of my mind going, "Oh, you really shouldn't eat that." It's like, well, I'm a human, so I'm going to.
Right, and I think that a lot of coaches will struggle with that, and I know for myself that I'm still on my journey, and so I will still think about, okay, I'm not as fit as this other trainer is, and how is anybody yeah, and I guess it's a little bit of imposter syndrome too, are people gonna be judging me because I don't look like this other person? Not but you forget too that this other person has been a trainer for however many years and hasn't had the physical limitations of like of somebody like myself too. So we're always a work in progress, and I think that it's good for people to know too that we are still human and that we are still working through our own things. I believe too that that makes us relatable to our clients as well, and that we aren't putting ourselves on a pedestal, therefore we're not going to have to make them abide by these insane standards as well.
Right.
And so I heard that you did the triathlons, you were really heavy on the cardio. Something switched though, didn't it? You
Yeah.
got more into strength training, or had that kind of already been there and then it just got you got more into it?
Yeah. It had already been there, but kind of in the periphery. So I think it was my last year in triathlon. So that was 2015. I found Mind Pump podcast. And I bought MAPS Anabolic, and I ran that while I was also competing. And really everything improved. I mean, my PRs got better. But I think really what made me try to phase over into strictly strength training and getting rid of the triathlon was number one, the amount of time that it takes to train for those versus 2 to 3 full body workouts a week. I mean, it saves plenty of time. Um, and not only that, but I think um, it was something that triggered a hormonal shift. Because I did lose, I was, and I wasn't really trying. It's just because I was competing all the time,
Hmm.
but I did lose a lot of weight. I maintained a little muscle because I was doing the strength training on the side, but before then it wasn't that way.
Right.
Um, in the previous years. Uh, but it was just, it came down to time and the way I didn't feel good. I lost my period and I thought it was because of whatever, my Mirena or something. No. Found out 4 years later that I was full-blown menopause. So that was like 48. Didn't start seeking help for that until about 2020.
And I don't think that people realize I think that now as women, as trainers, that we do have that responsibility to put that information out there too, and be able to in sharing your example. I think a lot of young women and parents of young women, they just think that if they've got a female athlete, that it's just normal to lose your period, not understanding that that is a very big indicator that something is severely wrong. You're malnourished and you're under rested. It's someone called it. I want to say it's Dr. Lara Bright and maybe other doctors that specialize in this, but they'll call it like it's your monthly report card. The period is just what tells us that something is wrong, or if everything's going well. The symptoms, if we're uncomfortable, all these things, and when that's off, we need to address it, and that's one of our superpowers, I think, as women, that we do have those hormonal things. So we can better understand the underlying issues. And so now, as you're going through perimenopause, is your focus shift more now towards supporting women in this phase of life?
Definitely. It's kind of cool that menopause is having its moment. That's
Right?
what they keep calling it. Um, I mean, it's long overdue.
Yes.
But because of that, I'm able to kind of guide people through that. In other words, like, okay, so I have this saying, HRT loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Love that.
Just like that old one, genetics loads the gun, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Yeah.
Um, because even though menopause is having this moment and there are many ways to treat it now, in-person telehealth, whatever, it still takes the lifestyle things, that need to be addressed too. So I feel it's actually kind of opened the door for me to also show females that, especially 40 plus, that they need to really follow the big rocks of fitness and make sure sleep is dialed in, protein, fibers dialed in, hydration steps, the way you approach it and the way you think about what's happening now and what to expect in the future. I think that we really need to make sure that they know that it's really what's going to kind of make everything fall in place. That hormones aren't always going to fix everything.
Yeah. And it is really surprising. And I think that when we get out of our echo chamber as coaches, because I start thinking, it's all that we talk about and that's all that we hear, or maybe our algorithms are now fixed so that we're following different coaches that are saying the same thing. And I'm sitting here going like, oh, I'm just one in a million now saying the same thing that everybody else, and now the whole world already knows that. And then I'm just like dumbfounded when I go out into the real world and I'm talking to women. I just the other week I was, meeting some new women at a networking event, and they find out that I'm a personal trainer. Start talking to them about that, and they go, "Okay, so as a woman, how should I be training? How should I be training? Do I need to train differently from a man to build my strength?" And I'm just like, "Okay, so here's the thing," and I'm going to let you take the floor on this because you and I come from the same philosophies on this, and both of us being Mind Pump certified trainers. And it just a little bit on that real quick for people who, if you don't know who Mind Pump is, go look them up. They've got a long running podcast. These guys have been in the industry for decades now and so much experience. And it's just, I know for me, it was very life changing and just mind blowing how simple health and fitness actually can be. And so it's completely changed my approach. And I wish that I had known about them years and years ago. But now, both of us being Mind Pump coach trainers, however you want to call it, and that's also what's bonded us too, is how we met. But yeah, I want to turn the floor back over to you about how women should be training and kind of the myths around that, and what your thoughts are. And to add into it, I love your whole no peak baby weights as well when it comes to this.
Yeah. I approach it as you have to think about the future. And I know a lot of people that I train have parents who are just in very poor health, and they are responsible for their parents, taking them to doctor's appointments and stuff. And it's like, well, do you want your independence, or do you want to be kind of dependent on your children like they are on you? Really have to think about the future.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds cliche,
But it's true.
yeah. And you have to be able to get yourself off the toilet, be able to walk yourself out to your car, to drive yourself to fun things, hopefully not doctor's appointments,
Right.
Yeah. So I approach it as it's not really about what's happening right now. It's about what your future is going to look like. So we really focus on functional moves. And the great thing is that if you focus on those, your body changes, your shape changes, get muscles, you lose fat. And those all also contribute to a better future for you. So,
Right.
but a lot of women that I meet before I start coaching them, they're like, oh, I got to run every day. Or I got to take the spin class, or I have to take this strength training class.
Yeah. Go ahead, riff it, let it go.
With the pig baby weights,
Yeah.
and fast moves and jumping around. It's like you could just do jumping jacks at home and get the same effect. Yeah. You're not challenging your muscles. You're just sweating.
Right.
And that feels good sometimes. But a lot of times I just see people walking out of those classes just beaten down. And I've noticed, because I've been at these two gyms for so long, I've noticed that none of these people change. mean, they've been taking these classes as long as I've been there, and they don't change at all, and they wonder why.
Yeah, and I think that adds to the frustration and this misconception that I've done all the things and I can't do anything. And I think that it is just that misinformation that's out there. It's a whole you don't know what you don't know. And unfortunately, a lot of
True.
these women don't know that there is a better way. That while they're trying everything, they're trying all the wrong things when really they need to just go over there and pick up some real weights and not just do cardio with weights. Yeah, the pink baby weights. I
Right.
just loved it. You put up not quite a meme. It was like the little cartoon the other day with Tom and Jerry, and he's walking by, and it's the pink baby weights in it. It was cute, but yeah, they just get sucked into this of like, okay, I've got to go do this like boot camp class, and because you're sweating and you're so tired and you moved your body, you think that you've done all this work, and you really you haven't. Not for the long term. Good for your
Right.
cardiovascular health, but
Like I tell people who come to me who have had a history of Orange Theory,
oh yeah,
it's like, that's great for like a 2 to 6 week period. And then you have to get in the weight room and challenge yourself with heavier weights to really see a change. You just can't do that forever. It's just not sustainable, and it's really doesn't change anyone for the long haul.
right. And then
So,
what you're doing is helping women and supporting women through perimenopause. And I'd love to hear more on your thoughts about how the muscle development will support you in that, along with life. I mean, that adds to the lifestyle, what you're eating. Again, the HRT loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. And so teaching them that muscle is really where it's at. And you're not going to outrun these shifts or Orange Theory in a
right.
way.
Yes. Well, I try to approach it as this muscle is going to help protect your bones, protect your joints, or challenging your muscles and challenging your joints and challenging your bones is actually going to improve them. And you can take all the HRT you want. If you don't apply pressure, pressure builds diamonds. And if you don't apply pressure to those muscles and joints and bones, they really aren't going to improve. So,
Right. It's that time under tension. So it
yep.
barbell work, yeah, challenging the
Yeah.
muscles and changing that.
Yeah.
uh,
But I tell you what, just about every female I work with who has that past history, Orange Theory, or running it off, whatever, once they do some serious weight training, they feel so powerful. They feel confident. They feel in control. It's amazing. And really, I don't think anyone has ever said that they didn't feel that way. No one has ever said, "This has been the worst hour I've ever spent in my life, and I feel like crap, and I feel weak, and I feel like a loser or something." You know? I mean, guaranteed a boost in your mood, a boost in your confidence. Oh, I just wish every female would give it a try, especially 40 plus.
yeah, music to my ears, and yeah, that's what I've found too. But just when women can really step into their power, not just we talk about our voices and all that, and absolutely that, but the physical confidence or the confidence that comes from being physically strong and knowing that you can go ahead and lift the suitcase above your head and not have to look around and be helpless, or that you can get the jar of pickles open, whatever.
Yep.
It's so empowering for that. And like you said, more women were to understand that and embrace it, you'd have them lining up at the squat rack.
Well, I am seeing that more and more.
Yes, good.
The thing is I see that with the younger girls, 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, and that's great because I hope that they stick with that so that they have a good future, strong and independent. It's just, I don't see as many females my age or 40 plus really hitting the weights as much, though. I mean, I see them do a lot of circuit style. They'll jump from machine to machine, a lot of just lacking direction, just kind of wander around. Okay, well, maybe I'll do this, but hopefully that will change. Hopefully.
Yeah, and we it's incumbent upon us to keep getting out there and then showing the example. And I used to work out at home now before, and now I, begrudgingly have to go to the gym because we just don't have a good spot to have our gym on the in the house now. But to your point though, being able to be at the gym and be that example and show other women what it really takes to be working out, especially 40 and plus, like to see other women their age doing these things. And then, I mean, neither one of us are these huge Arnold Schwarzenegger physique women that they all think that they're going to become. Yet we're over there like squatting and deadlifting and moving heavy circles, moving heavy shit. And just like, being able to do that and not yet have that man type physique that they think that we're all going to get magically overnight.
Right.
It's just insane.
Well, it's funny. A lot of the clients I've acquired at one of my gyms, that's the gym I work out in. I have stuff at home, but I just feel less safe. I'd rather have a bunch of people around in case something happens. I don't know. Uh, but I'm the only female I've seen over 50 who's ever on the platform. People 40 plus and older are like, I want to do that. And they look at me and they see I'm not bulky, but they see what I'm lifting and they're like, it kind of dispels the myth. And then they're like, hey, I want to train with you.
Oh, awesome.
So I think you have to be the example too.
Right.
So I'm sure people see you at the gym and go, hey, I want to do that. Right?
Yeah. And I'm just going to go ahead and complain for just a second too about seeing other trainers at the gym and that they're not running their female clients through things like that. I still see them putting them on like these circuit type things, more performative style exercises. And it is still really frustrating. It shows that like you and I, we're still few and far between out there.
Yeah.
And it is still frustrating to see that. And I've had that in I've had a couple personal trainers in my life. One of them, female, she was a rock star. The other one, and he was great too, but it was just like, let's go ahead and run you through the circuits kind of thing and on cable machines. And it's just like, okay, can we get away from this? Can we do better?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I see that too.
Yeah. So, kind of back to the perimenopause discussion, something behind the scenes we were talking about and just how much of an impact that can have on relationships that people don't know about. And I think that's worth having a conversation about because obviously it had a big impact on your life. And I know for me, and I believe I started going into perimenopause about 2 or 3 years ago, the age of 38, which that's another discussion too of just how much younger it's happening. I've also got a history of other health issues too that made it more likely that I was going to be thrown into it earlier on. But
Yeah.
but I think similar to you, just in the case of that, it was affecting my relationship, but you just don't know it, and it was something that you discovered years later, from what I understand. And I wanted to see how much you wanted to share about that.
There are some things I cannot say to protect the people involved. Whatever. No. But I can definitely tell you that because of what the lack of hormones does to you, sometimes it makes you mean. So your husband doesn't want to be around you. Sometimes it steals your libido. Your husband doesn't want to be around you. They're just, and it's coming out more now and I think I was listening to a podcast with Gabrielle Lyon, and she was talking to, I think it was her, talking to a relationship expert, and he was saying that hormonal changes can ruin relationships. That's why it's very important that you know where you are in that phase of life. That way you can do something about it or recognize it or know that it's going to affect your relationships and do something about it.
And so what would be sorry, let me back that up. Should we be looking more for the symptoms or going in for the regular blood test, certain types of tests that you would recommend?
Well, definitely I recommend, just based on my past experience and the good working relationship I have with my age management doctor, you should have everything checked, really. All thyroid hormones, every single, reproductive hormone. You can even go beyond that. Like I had a GI map test. Really just as much data as you can get, because you can go off symptoms, but you need the data along with your symptoms and your list of symptoms to really figure out where you are and where to go. So I say get yourself a really good doctor who is willing to listen. My gynecologist did not. She was like, "I'm not going to run those tests." It's like, "Okay, well, then I'll just order them myself."
Bingo.
Yeah. So, but yeah, find a good practitioner who is willing to listen and explore with you, which, I mean, I am so grateful I found the doctor I'm with now. Do you mind if I give him a shout out?
Go right ahead. We need to know who all the good doctors are because
Yeah.
unfortunately your previous case is not unusual. So
Yeah.
shout away.
Dr. John Bennett. He's at Coastal Age Management here in Savannah, Georgia. He is not online. So when I have an appointment with him, we're together face to face for an hour, hour and a half.
Oh wow.
He digs in deeply, tries to figure out all the root causes of anything I'm going through. He
Hmm.
goes above and beyond. And his medical assistant is so supportive. I can call her or text her anytime, and she helps me out. His wife basically runs the office,
Oh wow. Yeah.
and she too, I can reach out to her anytime.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. Find yourself a doctor like him.
And what kind of doctor was he and then how did you find him?
He's an internal medicine doctor, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's still allopathic.
Uh-huh.
He still treats people in the hospital setting. In fact, we were talking the other day, and he's like, "I've saved lives in an instant there." And with his practice, age management practice, he helps people figure it out over time.
Right.
So he's getting fulfilled in both areas.
Yeah.
Um, but I found him. Actually, I was at an open house for a new chiropractor, and there was a lady who has an IV therapy practice, and she was like, "Hey, I know this really good doctor for hormones." And it was him. So she gave me his number. I reached out, and I mean, the first visit was almost 2 hours, and we covered everything. So, but I just, I, I wish everyone can find a doctor like him.
Yeah, I agree. And that is something I have recorded a podcast on talking about some of these things, but how women that we can't just wait for somebody else to come along and save us. Like we just can't. We've got to go ahead
No.
and be proactive, just as you were. Not put up with the doctors, and it always blows my mind too whenever I do hear that it's actually female gynecologists
Right.
that are doing these as well. That they're just dismissing their patients and it's just shows like how broken that system can be, but yet there are still those diamonds in the rough though of the Dr. Bennett. A lot of times I suggest people just go straight to a functional health doctor, which
Yes.
unfortunately a lot of times your insurance won't cover that. Although I will caveat that with like look at if you have HHS or FHS, the insurance that's not quite insurance, but it's a savings account basically. If you have
Yeah.
that, a lot of times they'll be accepted. In fact, I believe you're signed up to get that as well if somebody wanted to work with you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did the same
Through
thing.
EverFit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the app I use for my online clients. and hybrid ones too.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
yeah, we can accept that as payment.
Right. And so just so people know, you can use those funds for a lot of things, and functional health doctors, even your coaches too. Just saying, everybody, just saying, there's other ways. But yeah, we as women, and anybody in general, but we as women, we've been so underrepresented in medicine, and we have to be our own advocates and continue just not putting up with it, with demanding better care. And knowing that there are options out there. And unfortunately, you do have to go and turn over some rocks. But as you were saying, find your network too. Get some networking, reach out to people. Usually you'll find some connections there. But yeah, it's frustrating, but then so liberating once you can find that person. I'm so glad that you were able to find him. How long have you been working with him?
Almost 2 years.
Okay. What would you say were some of the big rocks that he had you start working on?
So we went the traditional route with estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, cypionate. And then I had good thyroid levels, but he didn't like my T3. He said it was good, but because I like optimal, he said I could really improve that. So that was the next thing we tackled. I finally gave in and said, okay, all right, fine. You've convinced me. But actually, this is my second year that I've signed up with him. So I've actually only been with him for like a year and a few months. Yeah, I misspoke. Sorry. I can't do math. I can count reps. I just can't do math.
Well, that counts. And I mean, we talk about the math and everything. My son's got a t-shirt now because he goes and works out with my husband and is doing barbell work. And so he's got the whole, like, I'm doing math with the plates and the barbell, and how people don't understand that 45 plus 45 equals 135.
That's right. Yeah. It's the new math.
It's the new math. It's because the bar weighs 45 pounds too, guys. Okay, just so you know. Just so everybody can be in on the joke there.
Yeah, I have a t-shirt with a bunch of plates on it, and it says math is hard.
Yeah, I've got apps now to help me out with it, and the calculator, like, okay, I need this amount, and then I put it into the app. And well, Heather, it has been so much fun talking to you and riffing on this, and a little bit of venting thrown in there as well. I believe that our viewers will get a lot of information out of this. And again, like, you got to make the effort and put in the reps, literally, to improve your health. And so again, it's been so great having you here, Heather. And if you don't mind sharing the information so people can find you and work with you.
So I'm on Facebook. Heather Anderson. I'm on Instagram. That's at hgen9. And my website is fitforallphases.com. But really, the pleasure has been all mine. You are such an inspiration. So I was really excited to talk to you today. So thank you for having me.
That's such a huge compliment. Thank you so much. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And you did such a great job. And again, this was your first podcast, so bravo. The first one is always the most difficult. So you've gone through it now, and I hope to see you on a lot more podcasts in the future. And thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here on True Grit. I truly appreciate it. If this episode sparked something in you, share it, subscribe, or leave a quick review. It helps more people find these conversations. For more ways to connect, head to true-grit.fitness or come say hi on Instagram at true.grit_bold.wellness. I'll see you next time with more stories, lessons, and a little bit of grit.